Effect on quantum instruments. Triggering instrumentalized and controllable quantum effects. Within the material world, all process and reaction mechanisms are based on irrefutable physical laws. This is valid for all physically working principles of the material world, and we all belong to these laws. However, the quantum world, or quantum effects, and their influence on our world produce a completely different reaction of our material rules. This becomes especially clear when modern physicists experiment with effects of quantum entanglements. Entanglement of photons, so-called light particles, or entanglement of atomic particles. Physicists observe these entanglement experiments, conclude from it, and thus define for their regulation loops is absolutely wrong regarding the character and role of the material existence and world. The modern physics deals with their observations in such a way as if quanta are the basis of the material control loop world as atoms are. They define quanta, better said the observed quantum effect, similar to the definition associated with atomic physics, which is known to be fundamental for solid-state physics. However, quanta and their effects must not be confused with a fundamental principle of matter, consequently, assuming these fundamentals of matter to be the origin of our material 3D or 4D world. Rather, quantum processes and effects originate from the quantum world, which shows up here only as an effect, but is no actual classical basis of this world. This quantum effect is indeed there and must be, because the quantum world is the true, actually existing world. But the material and all principles causally existing from it are only an echo of it. That means matter is not based on quanta in the matter world. What is to be observed are only quantum effects anyway, but it is an outgrowth of the quantum world. This seems to be contradictory and hair-splitting at the first moment, but it is a significant and momentous difference. In detail, one must call the matter world of an echoic materialization of the quantum world, a kind of exhaust gas or a polluted remnant from the quantum world. What describes the exact relationship to each other in the exact sense still inadequately. But exactly because our matter world in the broadest sense is now an exhaust world, all existing things are also pressed together in it in fixed contexts of rules and dependencies, without any possibility of true flexibility. Research in entangled quanta for mental association. The quantum effect is so amazing that original laws of matter can seem to be bypassed or broken. This can be seen particularly well in published quantum experiments. In these, researchers are amazed that, for example, entangled particles can suddenly communicate with each other over an indefinite distance apart, regardless of whether this involved particle A being in a laboratory on Earth and particle B being in a distant galaxy at the other end of the universe. If one sets particle A in motion, gives it a spin, particle B also rotates in this moment, however, and this is the remarkable, always exactly opposite. The two entangled particles behave inverted to each other, like positive and negative. All together represents the so-called quantum entanglement, initiation, anchoring. The effect is so astonishing and stands against all known experiences with the matter world, one might think it is about the assumed regularity. Quanta are a fundamental part of the matter world. Strictly speaking, however, the quantum entanglement, the initiation anchoring of the effect, only bridges the inability of matter to do so otherwise. The reasons why this remote effect occurs are the causally working effect mechanisms of the matter world, exhaust world. One initiates the effect indeed by the quantum world. However, the quantum effect is not the actual reason, but only initiator within the matter. The quanta behave like a temporally and punctually initiated breaking up forced flexibilization of the matter world laws. They stamp the matter, so to speak, let it react, balance, like an irreversible education which lasts as long as its material form is kept, until the death of the state, e.g. of the object or the living being. So one can initiate with anchoring, entanglement, e.g. the end of a biological state in such a way that the accompanying willed death of a living being sets a merciless break in motion within the material world, creating irreversible consequences caused by this break. As said, with these quantum effects, however, no quanta react actively within the matter world. The quanta themselves do not act as causal mechanism, but only the laws of the matter world themselves react causally, nothing else. and matter has to react. This is how it is built. This is how it is constituted. This is its character. It is its property. It is always striving to balance itself, even if some things within were broken. Action must be followed by reaction. It must do, otherwise it gets out of balance and disappears, would irrevocably dissolve. Meaning, consequence of quantum effects on our material world. Our material world is based on this above-mentioned principle of the constant balance. One could say on a light-shadow law. In it, there is never only light. That is simply not possible there, let alone realizable. Its principles, appearances, and maxims always consist, so to speak, of good and evil, pointedly said. Everything consists of it and on it. In matter, biology, systems, in the psyche, intelligence, social structures, the handling, the togetherness, developments, organizations, evolution, etc. Cause-effect. Everything here are laws and systems of this duality. Even if the matter world wanted it, it could not change this. Because of its forced duality, it can't become another world. Because it doesn't want to recognize itself. It is and remains through and through the world of the abyss. And the ruler of this world is the principle of duality itself, the so-called good and evil. Good and evil, metaphorically for light and shadow, are defined as opposites, but at the same time are part of the same thing. They are needing each other and always balancing each other. Mechanisms which belong together, without which this world would not exist, would collapse. Good always needs evil. Evil always needs good. They are equal and yet unequal. Positive and negative, inverted. It is the regularity of a fettered state. This dual principle is the ruler of this world. He, she is hidden behind the mechanism of everything that exists here, especially in hoping for the longed-for good. In this way, people worship a principle which is destroying and imprisoning them simultaneously. When they pray only for balance, justice, protection, cheerfulness. All their thinking, definition, and reaction corresponds to the striving for balance, drives of the duality of their existence. They are always neutralizing mechanisms, dual thinking, dual logic, dual mind, dual being, which cannot or does not want to and is not allowed to awaken the true self. The adherent biology always takes its toll, the inevitable consequence, and the inevitable. This described power, duality, is the ruler of this world. It is Lucifer, it is the principle which you exist as a human being, as a being, also yourself, through and through, the light-darkness principle. Lucifer works as good and evil simultaneously. That is his principle, and therefore it is difficult to unmask and to understand. He is darkness and light at the same time. Consequently, his promise, seduction, against the revolters in the quantum hyperdimensional field, Father, resulted when they began to think that this way they could become superior to the Father and make everything even more brilliant. When light meets darkness, the light shines stronger and becomes more beautifully. Look in the mirror, convince yourself. What do you see? Do you think you see something divine? Because you are offered, convinced, and fed with such ideas in esotericism, theology, and teachings? Do you like to talk yourself into it, as vain as Lucifer himself? Do you think you are really connected with the Father, a part of him? If you strive here, nevertheless, so flatly after the principles of duality, here you are subject to the Lord of Matter, who feeds you without noticing it, like a well-caring and at the same time smothering mother, which is why you therefore cannot realize, liberate your soul, frequency state of your ego consciousness vibrating on quantum level. When you pray for balance, you are begging to the Lord of this world, not to the Father. Here in this state of matter, with Lucifer's vibrational frequency, you are and remain his worshipper, Lucifer, and at the same time, you are himself, as the fallen ones, however you want to define it. All of you in the universe, book page 234, are the outcasts. See also the last hint given by me to the band history of Jasper, Isley Brothers, and Kraftwerk. So you have the choice whether you want to return or to remain robots. In matter you are trapped and always dominated by the dual frequency of Lucifer, see book 47, page 227 below, which overlays your infinite quantum oscillation pattern. The quantum world is in contrast to matter in the truest sense of the word only light, a frequency oscillation in which the negative does not exist, cannot exist, is not allowed to exist, is therefore even automatically gassed off
and ejected when it arises.
In the material world, beings cannot redeem themselves. That will not be possible. What you can do is to recognize yourself, your consciousness, in order to put yourself back into your old vibrational state, in order to be able to offer yourself to the Father that way. By developing free will and believing in the Father, you can put your soul, a special frequency state of your consciousness on quantum level within matter, into the correspondingly needed vibration frequency. This enables you to be taken up again by the quantum hyperdimensional world, by the Father, after your physical death. So you are able to withdraw yourself from matter by activating the quantum impulse which belongs to you, from which you originate, that is making yourself accessible, offering yourself to Him, making Him able to redeem you, the Father. For help. Your body does consist of atoms, but if you take a step further, go into the smaller, you seem to consist of quantum effects only. And quanta are nothing else than vibrations, frequencies. They themselves are only a state of vibration which cannot end even if their matter dissolves. By using this oscillation state, you can completely influence the matter, other quantum effects. If you have paid attention and think laterally so far, you have some methods at hand. Quantum effects and their powerful influences on the bonds of the matter world. There are numerous ways in which you can make the quantum effects manifest, and you yourself, as a material being, are a part of these effects. The best way is to place a quantum initiation, a quantum instrument anchored in this world. An instrument whose effects are similar to the physical experiments of physicists working with entanglements of photons or atoms, see above. The instrument presented here must not be described in detail for security reasons. It introduces breaks of irreversible extent. Don't be afraid. The closure of this knowledge was part of a decision, accepting all the corresponding consequences, referring to the example of a quantum initiation anchoring quantum entanglement. Description of the effect of a time-anchored quantum instrument. You anchor, execute, fix the quantum instrument, initiation, activation, at a certain point of time within the so-called time course within the material world. The set instrument behaves in the moment of anchoring as a mirror of the material time axis. That is, before and after the time of this anchoring in our matter world, space-time matrix, and exhaust world, temporally mirror images of events arise, which are mirrored exactly opposite to each other in, e.g., a social event, course of events, a catastrophe, a process, or influence. E.g., 100 days before the anchoring initiation of the instrument, here mirror instrument, a certain event takes place, it is reflected exactly 100 days after the mirror anchoring as future event. Depending on how one aligns the instrument, it will have either influence on the own world and/or on the events of the whole matter world. The alignment determines how the event is to be reflected and what is to be reflected. Considerable caution is required with the initiation effect dosage, which unfortunately strives towards infinity, while a well-adjusted initiation with correspondingly regulated anchoring of the effect is always urgently necessary, otherwise an uncontrollably spreading break. Permanently increasing effect can arise in the matter world. The described effect resembles the well-known quantum experiments of modern physics scientists. However, the application and initiation of this instrument effect is based on a completely different method approach, which fortunately is considered to be difficult to implement and therefore will not be thought in full at all or can be thought through in its full complexity in the near future. A major reason why you don't need to be afraid that the described method could be abused. If now the quantum instrument is initiated mirroring into the matter world, the mirrored event, thing, person from the past is automatically balanced by the matter world using a corresponding negative in the future. This compensation takes place as positive-negative effect, a reversal of the event to be mirrored, as with the left-right spin effect of the entangled, far-apart atoms, see above. It therefore represents the balancing effect imposed on the matter world. A mirrored event, thing, person from the past, therefore has always depending on the definition standpoint. At the same time, however, with such mirroring, the form of the mirrored object remains identical in past and future, like a photo and its negative. The colors are inverted, the forms are kept. However, these properties of the reflection, that is, of inversion on the one hand and shaping on the other, have a blur background that merges into one another. That is, one can never really know which elements of the reflection are inverted and which elements of the reflection retain the shape. For example, if there was a surprise meeting with friends in the past, followed by dinner and hilarious fun quip, it is possible that the surprise meeting, element number 1, will become the retained form in the mirroring future event, and the fun quip, element number 2, will become the negative, a contentious argument. In the same way, however, it can be the other way around, that the fun quip is retained, but the surprise of the meeting is inverted. That is, that the meeting was not accidental, but arranged. Often it happens that mirroring events, persons, things, procedures also reverse, keep the form only in their detail aspects, e.g. the distance covered during the event, or that the number of persons involved in an event is reversed, kept gender-wise. Also, an event, an accident for example, may shift to another group, or behavior or action may be reversed. There are many aspects, but there are very good ways to specifically control, setting of quantum effects for each eventuality within the matter world. The effect on matter world ranges from weak to dangerously exuberant, duality dissolving. However, this is only the case if matter is not able to balance itself, if it is actively prevented, braked from it. As disclosed above, an initiated quantum effect always demands an balancing effect in the matter world, without which the matter otherwise would collapse completely or partially, or produces harmless to enormous effects, however precisely controllable. Well, what do you think? How does the matter change if during the initiation of the anchoring at the same time the matter is prevented from being able to balance itself? What would happen if with this initiation it was also determined that one as initiator, e.g. accepts one's own death to trigger an incredible quantum effect? It has influence on a long time epoch. Or if one undermines its implementation, compensation, by deliberate restraint, ambiguity in the urgency of a concern. When you inform a group of people but only marginally convince them, you leave them in limbo, make it seem dubious, like a trick, a scam, so they don't want to respond accordingly. What do you think happens? So if the matter cannot balance itself, the rupture grows. The effect, dear recipients, is getting stronger day by day, and the discharge is becoming enormous. This is a quantum effect permanently growing due to conscious decision, which will tear a hole. You have had it in the hand. It was your decision. Only therefore you could choose. You can still reduce the measure of suffering by distribution, announcement. You are everything what stands against it. You can't stop it. You are also not responsible for it, because it happens anyway, in one way or another. Do not hold a grudge against me or against yourself. Matter had to be given a choice. See book page 227 to 240 and 267. Only so matter could not immediately balance, neutralize itself again, because all this is consequence of a decision which the beings of this world have made to wake up. No more equalization according to material principle, but a break, a consolation for you. Even though material breaks always hurt and are dangerous, they are always worth it. P.S. Pay attention to the other contents of the book and note the metaphysics of its protagonists and the narrative itself. Watch the video. This topic is closed and cannot be commented.